Hello, I'm Paul Walker from the SpoiIers YouTube channel. It is an absolute downpour here in New York tonight, but the storm outside is nothing compared to the hurricane of betrayal currently ripping through Port Charles. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are unpacking the most diabolical, jaw-dropping narrative shifts we have ever witnessed, and I guarantee you are not ready. Let's get into it. Okay, I literally cannot believe this. Can we please process this mess together? Might delete this later. But I seriously can't stay silent about this anymore. Look, it is 3 a.m. My eyes are practically bleeding from staring at these monitors. And I just hit record. Because my sanity has officially left the building, I am severely sleep deprived, running on nothing but iced coffee and pure, unadulterated rage because this grueling, decade-long journey has finally pushed me over the edge. I am ditching the script. I am breaking all the filters. I am here to deliver some unfiltered, hard truths about the absolute narrative betrayal we are witnessing right now. There are legends carrying this entire journey on their shoulders, while others are single-handedly testing your sanity, and honestly, I am going to call every single one of them out tonight. Please tell me I'm not the only one losing my mind over this. Unbelievable, guys. What's going on here? We need to talk about Drew Kane, because basically what is happening in that back bedroom is straight out of a psychological horror movie. Listen, we knew Drew's paralytic medicine was wearing off. We saw the wiggling fingers. We saw the desperate panic in his eyes. But what he just did, it is a total game changer. Suddenly, Drew is fighting for his literal life. He manages to drag his partially paralyzed body across the floor. The sheer, agonizing effort of a man who has been locked inside his own physical prison for months, finally breaking through the chemical chains. He's dragging himself, scraping his skin, bleeding onto the hardwood floor. And what does he do? He doesn't just crawl for the door. He uses his own blood to write a desperate, broken message on the floor. He is basically screaming into the void with his own DNA, begging for someone, anyone, to save him from this nightmare. Honestly, it is the most visceral, raw frame the show has delivered in years. But then suddenly, the door opens. Willow Kane walks in. Look, I have defended Willow in the past. I have low-key obsessed over her journey from the cult to the Quartermaine mansion. But this is absolute villainy. She sees Drew on the floor. She sees the bloody message. And instead of breaking down, instead of calling an ambulance, she realizes that Jen Sidwell's lethal ultimatum is hanging over her head. Sidwell basically told her that Drew stays paralyzed or he ends up dead. So what does she do? She grabs the syringe. She plunges that needle back into Drew, forcing him back into the dark, silent abyss of his own mind. It is a lethal crunch of a scene, and honestly, I was screaming at my screen. Wait, why are we like this? Why are we turning our heroines into literal captors? But wait, because it gets so much worse. Listen to me, the vibe is about to redline, so strap in. Who walks into the house next Michael Corinthos? He comes in, probably looking for more ammunition for his pathetic cheating trap against Harrison Chase. But instead, he spots the bloody, broken characters smeared across the floor. Michael is a smart guy, basically raised in the mob, so he pieces it together instantly. He realizes that Drew is not on some secret WSB mission. He realizes his own uncle is being held hostage, chemically lobotomized in the guest room by his own wife. Now, in any normal universe, this is the moment Michael calls the cops. This is the moment Michael becomes the hero, calls Dante, calls the WSB, and saves Drew. But no, he literally does not do that. Michael Corinthos looks at the undeniable proof of a felony hostage situation involving his own blood relative, and he calculates his leverage. He realizes that this is the ultimate major flex he has been waiting for. Instead of saving Drew, Michael uses the bloody message to blackmail Willow. He corners her, drops the evidence, and tells her that unless she signs over full, unconditional custody of their children and leaves Port Charles forever, he is going to the police. He is weaponizing his uncle's torture for a custody battle. I am absolutely losing my mind over this hypocrisy. This is terminal velocity betrayal. Michael has spent his entire life judging Sonny, judging Carly, acting like he is the moral compass of the Quartermaine family. And here he is basically acting like a mob boss, holding a hostage situation over his wife's head for legal leverage. Honestly, suddenly, Michael is worse than Jen Sidwell. Sidwell is a known criminal, a ruthless operator who makes no apologies for who he is. But Michael wraps himself in a righteous, holier-than-thou attitude while committing the most despicable acts of emotional terrorism imaginable. Willow thought she was trapped by Sidwell, but she just realized she escaped the wolf only to be devoured by the monster she married. She is completely trapped. She has to decide whether to confess, go to prison, and save Drew, or sink even deeper into this toxic criminal abyss just to protect the Quartermaine reputation and stay near her kids. Whoa, I've really gone off chasing butterflies into another dimension. Bringing the signal back, let's stick to the script. We have to pivot because while the Quartermaine mansion is turning into a literal house of horrors, the Port Charles Police Department is undergoing a hostile takeover that is low-key destroying my soul. Let's talk about Dante Falconeri. Dante is the good cop. He is the guy who has always tried to balance the legacy of being Sonny Corinthos' son with the badge he wears on his chest. But Dante made a fatal error. He destroyed evidence to protect his son Rocco, who shot Ross Cullum at Pier 55. We all know Rocco got a slide burn. We all know Dante found the bloody button from Rocco's jacket and supposedly got rid of it to cover up the crime. Dante basically burned his own integrity to the ground to keep his kid out of juvenile detention, or worse. And honestly, as a father, I get it. I really do. But in the world of Port Charles, your sins always find you out. Enter Detective Joe Fitzpatrick. Look, when this guy first debuted, I thought he was just another fresh-faced, by-the-book rookie brought in to fill the background. I was so wrong. Joe Fitzpatrick is not a Boy Scout. He is a predator. He is a highly calculated operative, and we just got the ultimate confirmation that he is secretly Jen Sidwell's inside man at the PCPD. And what does Joe have in his possession? The bloody button, the exact piece of evidence Dante thought he destroyed at Pier 55. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. Joe doesn't take this button to Max Scorpio. He doesn't file an evidence report. He walks right up to Dante, the acting police commissioner, and drops the bloody button on his desk. This is a total game changer. Joe looks Dante dead in the eye and basically tells him that he owns him now. Joe blackmails Dante, forcing him to become Jen Sidwell's personal mole inside the police department. If Dante refuses, Joe will expose Rocco. He will prove that Rocco shot a federal agent, and he will prove that Dante destroyed evidence to cover it up. Dante will go to prison, and Rocco will be thrown to the wolves. I literally cannot believe this Dante is trapped in an impossible, soul-crushing dilemma. He has to choose between protecting his son from a brutal prison sentence and becoming the exact type of dirty, corrupt cop he has spent his entire life fighting against. The psychological damage here is immense. Dante is spiraling. He is watching his entire identity, his entire moral foundation crumble into dust because of one desperate choice he made on that pier. And Joe Fitzpatrick, he's absolutely ruthless. He doesn't just stop at the blackmail. He starts stalking Rocco. Joe is shadowing Rocco at Kelly's, watching him at the park, making sure Dante knows that his son is always in the crosshairs. It is a terrifying, high-stakes game of cat and mouse, and Dante is completely paralyzed by fear. Every time Joe smiles at him in the precinct, it is a reminder that Dante has sold his soul to the devil. Every time Joe asks for an opportunity or a favor, Dante has to comply, knowing that he is aiding and abetting a massive criminal syndicate led by Sidwell. Wait, why are we like this? Why do the writers insist on breaking our favorite characters down to their absolute lowest, most desperate points? I am honestly exhausted. I am sitting here at 3 a.m. staring at my wall, trying to figure out how Dante gets out of this. Does he finally break? Does he walk into Max Scorpio's office, drop his badge on the desk, and confess everything? Or does he accept his new reality, embrace the darkness, and become the corrupt commissioner? Sidwell needs him to be just to keep Rocco safe. Listen, the stakes have never been higher. We have Drew Kane bleeding on a floor, being drugged by a desperate Willow while Michael plays God with their lives for custody leverage. We have Dante Falconeri, the beacon of justice, being blackmailed into a criminal syndicate by a dirty detective who is stalking his teenage son. The entire moral fabric of Port Charles is being ripped to shreds, and honestly, I am here for the drama, but my psychic damage is peaking right now. I don't even know who to root for anymore. Michael is acting like a sociopath. Willow is a reluctant villain. Dante is a compromised hero. Joe is a terrifying antagonist. And poor Drew is just a pawn in a game he doesn't even know he's playing. It is an absolute narrative bloodbath, and I am low-key obsessed with how dark they are willing to take this. Look, maybe I am just delirious from the lack of sleep. Maybe I am projecting my own existential dread onto these fictional characters. But I know I am not alone. I know the legacy stands out there are feeling this exact same chaotic feedback loop of transcendent hype and absolute narrative betrayal. We are watching the destruction of everything we thought we knew about these families. The Quartermains and the Falconers are being pushed to their absolute limits, and the fallout is going to be biblical. I need you guys to sound off in the comments. Please validate my insanity. Tell me you are screaming at your screens too. Tell me how you think Dante is going to outsmart Joe Fitzpatrick. Or if he is just doomed to be Sidwell's puppet. Tell me if you think Michael has officially crossed the point of no return with this Willow blackmail. I am going to try to get some sleep, but let's be real. I'm just going to lie in bed staring at the ceiling thinking about Drew's bloody message on that floor. Thank you for letting me dump my unedited psychic damage onto you all. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.